WPIAL Podcast, Trib Live, High School Sports Network. Here to prepare you for week 4 of the regular season, 9 weeks in the regular season. Again, throw in week 0. It's the 5th weekend of the regular season. And then if you do that, 10-week, we're really pretty much at the midway point after this weekend, is a nice way of saying this season's flying. One more week of tune-ups for a handful of conferences. Conference play began last week for 6A, 2 conferences in 5A, 2 conferences in 3A, all 3 conferences in 2A, and all 4 conferences in Class A. Next week, in week 5, it'll be conference time for most teams the rest of the way. That includes the Allegheny 6 Conference in Class 5A, all 3 conferences, the Big 6, the GAC, the Greater Allegheny Conference, and the Parkway Conference in 4A, and the Interstate Conference in 3A will finally begin next week. So tune-ups for those teams, one more week. But again, in this new world order, where the WPIAL Football Steering Committee decides all wild cards, every game carries meaning because the committee a lot of times will look at those non-conference games to see how you did when they're comparing one team from one conference to another team. So every game has some meaning, but conference games carry a little more weight. Let's start with this week's schedule. By the way, this will be the final weekend of summer football, and it's going to feel like it again. Temps around 80 degrees, more sun on Friday. Looks like a glorious day again. Drink the pickle juice, kids. But the fall begins, I guess, technically on Saturday, but you always think of September 21st as the first day of autumn, and that would be on Sunday. So maybe we'll start getting some cool, crisp Friday nights soon. It won't be this week. All right. 6A, Hempfield visits Central Catholic. Hempfield had their big test after winning their first 3 games last week. Went to North Allegheny, didn't go so well. 56-13, Spartans losing to the Tigers. So they come in 0-1, 3-1, another tough test. With the Vikings, who are 1-0, 3-1. It appears again, Central Catholic, North Allegheny, and then a pretty large divide with the rest of the teams. But those rest of the games, and there's one of them this week, are going to carry a lot of meaning. Last week, Norwin beat Seneca Valley in the first of 10 matchups between the other 5 teams in 6A. 56-13, Knights beat the Raiders. Knights, by the way, this week will be hosting North Allegheny. So, again, maybe we learn a little bit of how improved this Knights team is. They've won 3 of their 4 games, including their 6A opener last week. The other game in 6A, Mount Lebanon against Cannon McMillan. Blue Devils struggling big time at 0-4. Big Macs have won 2 straight. They are 2-2. This was a thriller last year with Cannon Mac winning in overtime. 6A versus 5A non-conference, Seneca Valley at 1-3 visits 3-1 Moon. All right, 5A in the Big East Conference. 3 games are on tap, including the matchup between Gateway, winning their first game last week, taking on Franklin Regional. Panthers still looking for their first victory of the season, losing to Latrobe last week. Speaking of the Wildcats, they are at Armstrong, conference opener for the Riverhawks, and Kiski area visits Penn Trafford. The Northeast Conference only has 2 games this week. Pine Richland hosting Plum, and North Hills at Fox Chapel, both teams looking for their first conference victory. Non-conference, Shaler, they had opened the season with 4 straight home games. They finally hit the road, head to the Wolverine and Turtle Creek. Tough assignment as they take on Woodland Hills. Our reigning player of the week going back to week 3 was Scoop Smith and his 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns and a victory over Penn Trafford in a Big East Conference opener last week. Wolverines now 2-2. 5A versus 4A non-conference battle of the Cats. McKeesport visiting Upper St. Clair. Still no Kimon Spell for the Tigers, who are 2-2. Panthers perfect at 4-0. West Allegheny visits Peters Township. That is a battle of the Indians. Bethel Park is at Trinity. Belle Vernon takes on South Fayette. And Penn Hills visits Aliquippa. The Indians winning their first game of the season last week when they rolled past Fox Chapel. Aliquippa, big come-from-behind victory over Mars a week ago. 5A versus 3A non-conference. Baldwin. I guess that's all you need to say, right? Highlanders struggling big time. Won't get any easier. They visit the number 5 team in Class 3A, Elizabeth Forward Warriors, coming off their first loss of the season last week to South Fayette. 4A non-conference, Mars will take on Montour. Both teams are 3-1 heading into that game. Chartiers Valley visits Hampton. West Mifflin at Thomas Jefferson. Newcastle is at Knock. 4A versus 3A non-conference. Derry at Indiana, Mount Pleasant at Laurel Highlands, both those teams 2-2. Blackhawk is at York in a battle of the Cougars. Ringgold at Southmoreland, those two teams combined 7-1. And Greensburg-Salem taking on Ambridge. Bridgers still looking for their first win of the season. Western Hills Conference, Class 3A, the magnificent matchup last week with Beaver holding off Hopewell 51-50. Travis Clear, almost 400 yards passing for the Bobcats. James Armstrong, 610 yards combined passing and rushing for the Vikings. But they lose, a heartbreaker, 51-50. They'll try to rebound, won't be easy, as they visit undefeated Avonworth. Central Valley at Beaver. Bobcats obviously coming off that emotional victory. Warriors coming off their first win of the season. McGuffey's at North Catholic. Allegheny 7 Conference. Imani Christian is undefeated. They are at Highlands. Freeport undefeated. They are at Burrell. And East Allegheny visits Deer Lakes. 3A non-conference, Quaker Valley visits Windlass Valley. 2A non-conference, Waynesburg Central at Steel Valley. Ironman coming off a big win over South Park a week ago. Speaking of South Park, Allegheny Conference in Class 2A. Eagles home to undefeated South Allegheny, one of our feature games on the network. Shady Side Academy, healthy again. We'll be visiting Apollo Ridge, and Our Lady of the Sacred Heart takes on Ligonier Valley. Midwestern Athletic Conference, Freedom is at Elwood City. Both teams coming off MAC conference wins a week ago. New Brighton is at Riverside. Western Beaver undefeated on the season, home to Union, and Mohawk is at Beaver. Century Conference, Washington home to Stowe Rocks. Seton LaSalle visits Carleton. There was a time where Honus Wagner Field in Carnegie was the home of the Rebels. They will be visitors going up against the Cougars on Friday. Keystone Oaks is at Charleroi. Class A, Black Hills Conference, battle of 4-0 teams. Monessen visits Fort Cherry. Bishop Canavan hosts Cornell at Dormont Stadium. Chartiers Houston against Burgettstown, the lone Saturday game. That's Saturday afternoon at Burgettstown. Big 7 Conference, Shenango at Southside, both won their Big 7 Conference openers last week. Rochester at Laurel. Northgate visits Neshannock. Eastern Conference, Fraser is at Clairton. Jeanette visits Leechburg. Both teams 1-0 in conference play. Greensburg Central Catholic at Brentwood, and Riverview visits rivals Springdale. Tri-County South, Avella 4-0, our team of the week last week. They'll be tested. They are home to 3-1 California. Jefferson Morgan also 4-0. Rockets home to Carmichael's. Beth Center at Bentworth, and Mapletown visits West Green. Non-conference Summit Academy against Sarah Catholic. Both teams looking for their first win of the season. City League Thursday, Brashear against Alderdice. Friday, Perry takes on University Prep, both games at Couple Stadium on the south side. Independent Circle, battle in Fayette County. Uniontown visits undefeated Albert Gallatin. Once beaten Butler will host undefeated Westinghouse from the City League. Morgantown visits Connellsville. Brownsville, home to Conotton Valley out of Ohio. Speaking of Ohio, Buckeye Local out of Ohio hosting Carrick. Both teams are 1-3, and that'll do it for our Week 4 preview. Thanks to our producer, Chris Lackner. I'm Don Rebel. We thank you for joining us. Don't forget, plenty of games. Check out our website, tribhssn.triblive.com on Friday. And then after the game, 9:30 to 11, the WPIAL Scoreboard Show, right here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.